Good afternoon to everyone in the land of Zoom, and welcome to the Board of Health virtual meeting on Tuesday, June 25th, scheduled for 3:30 p.m. My name is Thomas Corey. Present with me via Zoom is Michael Coughlin and Tess Curran, our agent of the board. Various guests and participants in today's meeting. Dr. Gagliardi has not yet signed on. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting and may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Cass, can we have a roll call?
Thomas Corey,
Yes.
Michael Coughlin. Mike, you're on mute.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the approval of the minutes of the meeting from Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to be made to the minutes of the meeting as printed?
Move to approve.
I'll second. Can we have a roll call?
Thomas Corey,
Yes.
Michael Coughlin.
Yes.
Next item is the request for approval for a tanning establishment for Claudio Braga at Exotic Salon and Tans, 428 South Main Street, Fall River, 02721. Josh, are you presenting for this one?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
presenting this today. Hang on one second. Pause. Can you view yours?
Oh, did it?
Yeah. I reviewed all the paperwork, and he has everything that he needs to open up the establishment. It was an existing tanning salon prior, so pretty much it's just a matter of getting him to get everything approved and get everything correct for him. I also did the inspection yesterday, and everything was perfect. Everything's all brand new in the shop.
Okay. Mr. Braga, for the record, can you state your name and address for the record?
It's Claudio Braga, and my address is 388 Bradford Avenue in Fall River, and the business is 428 South Main Street in Fall River.
Okay. Do you really want to do this, a tanning salon in this day and age?
But it's mostly for my wife. I'll
It's
be
for-
there with her, but it's something for us, basically. She's gonna
Okay.
be running most of it anyways because she's a hairstylist, so it's gonna be a tanning and hair salon.
Oh, tanning and hair salon. Okay. Okay. Well, it's just that, historically, we haven't had a tanning salon come before the board in a number of years. At one time in Fall River, there had to be, at least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen. And then with all the insurance situations, a lot of them have closed down. And as far as I knew, the only places that still had tanning is like the health clubs, Wow, and I don't even know if Planet Fitness has them anymore. So you're sure about this? You want to do this?
We'll see what happens.
Okay, okay. Again, I have no objection, although being a fair-skinned redhead of Irish descent, I probably will never visit your establishment. Okay, but no, I just want to make sure you're aware of all the potentials with this.
Yes, I am.
Well,
Okay.
he's offering a diversified business services. So yes, that's
Okay.
all right. I move to approve the application.
Okay. I will second. Can we have a roll call?
Thomas Corey,
Yes.
Michael Coughlin.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Braga, good luck.
Thank you.
Next this will open up the tobacco violations hearing, second offense of an act to modernize tobacco control, the Hartwell Quick Stop, 350 Rodman Street, Fall River, 02721. Jennifer is with us. Jennifer, please, if you would.
Okay, so I did a round of compliance checks on May 22nd at approximately 10:57 a.m. My youth buyer went into Hartwell Quick Stop. She was able to purchase a backwoods single cigar using a $20 bill for $2. The compliance check was then tracked in post. The youth described the clerk as an adult male with a beard. Also mentioned that no ID was asked and also no age was asked when they made the purchase. This is their second offense of the state law. So I sent a cease and desist with a fine of $2,000 and a possible 7-day suspension. The fine is paid as of June 11th, so they did pay the fine. Right now, it's the suspension in question, and their prior violation took place on May 5th, 2022, and it was also for a sale to a minor.
Is there anyone here
Yeah.
from
Bharat Patel.
Mr. Patel? Can you
Yes, sir.
state your name and address for the record?
My name is Bharat Patel and 350 Rodman Street, Fall River, May 02721.
Okay, let's hear your side of the story.
Okay, this happened the first time was the violation was different people. I fired them, and this is the second time I had a different employee, and this happened, and he did not pay attention. I'm sorry, very sorry about that, and I deeply sorry for that, and I don't want that. This is not gonna happen again. Really pay attention on these things. We check the ID all the time, and we make sure our community is safe and healthy, and we have the put in a system to when somebody asks the tobacco anything, they ask the tobacco, the register asks the ID, and without the we see the ID, we're not gonna sell them. We are really pay attention on them now. And I don't want the suspension, please. I pay my fine. Yes, we don't make much money in the tobacco, but if somebody buy the tobacco, we sell something else. We keep going. We pay our taxes and our expenses and keep going. That's why, please, I don't want the suspension.
Jennifer, do you know if the last time they were before us, did we do any suspending or do just the fine?
So for the first hearing, it was only just a fine of $1,000.
And that was in May of 22?
Yes.
Hi. I know, listen, a small business owner I am. I know sometimes it's tough to train employees and follow the rules every time. But this is happening more and more. And I think the whole purpose for years has been to educate. If you come before the board, you have to realize that you've made an error, and we've got to push the message out that it won't be tolerated. So I would be in favor of the 7-day suspension.
That's on me, huh? Yeah. Jennifer, what is the time frame for the
Between
escalation?
offenses.
The 3 offenses, but within what time frame? That's what I'm asking.
It's based for 36 months.
Okay. And it's been from 22 to 20. So about, yeah. Okay. I mean, Tom, we have done, we've had a couple of these in recent months, and we have not gone ahead with the suspension, with the understanding that if this happens again for the third, you can be guaranteed a 30-day suspension.
That's true.
So it's a precedent that we've set. So I'm
Make the motion, no suspension this time.
Okay. All right, we're all right. I will make the motion that we waive the suspension for the second offense. But do understand, Mr. Patel, that if this happens again, you're looking at 30 days, not just 7.
Yes, sir. No problem. Thank you.
I'll second. Tess, can we have a roll call?
Thomas Corey,
Yes.
Michael Coughlin.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Patel,
Yes, sir.
behave, train your staff to behave. And
Yes.
that will close the tobacco violations hearing.
Okay.
Next, we have a request for updated deed restriction 3687 North Main Street, Fall River, Mass. 02721. I believe that's Mr. Aguirre reporting.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Dan Aguirre. I'm the Director of Engineering and Planning for the City of Fall River. Chairman Corey, what you have before you today is a situation where Mr. Brandon Souza purchased a property in 2020 up on North Main Street that was serviced by a failed septic system. It was a bank transfer. And at that time, he proposed to connect to a new Title V compliant septic system. And when that was reviewed by the board in 21, this is before my time, the plan was approved. However, the Department of Community Utilities, I believe, required a deed restriction that upon the next sale of the property, that the applicant would be required to tie into municipal sewer, which is a few hundred feet away. I don't think Mr. Souza anticipated selling the house within 2 years. So the system is not even 2 years old. So they approached us, specifically the Board of Health, with regards to allowing the sale to take place and that a new restriction be put in place with the new homeowner. Tess and I had discussed it. We said at a minimum, we would need a new Title V inspection report first to make sure that the system was functioning well, which the applicant did submit. We do have copies of that. The system has passed easily, again, only being 2 years old. Now, we did reach out to the Department of Community Utilities, specifically Paul Ferland, for his input and comment regarding this, because I do believe that's where the initial request for the restriction came, but we have not gotten a response from him. Attorney Brum, who put the initial restriction in place, did forward over to me, which I forwarded to Tess, a release of the existing deed restriction and a proposed new deed restriction with the new owners to be put in place. The only concern or question I have with regards to that is we will have some, I don't know what you want to call it, limbo time where there will technically be no restriction in place on the property. So the applicant would be able to record the release of the previous restriction, and then there is nothing really holding the applicant responsible for recording the new one, because the new one doesn't come into play until the property's changed hands. So the only concern I have is with regards to the timing and how these things get taken in order to make sure that they do get recorded and the restriction does cover the property. In my opinion, there's no need for the deed restriction. I'm assuming because there is an ordinance that requires properties to tie into municipal sewer if it's available upon time that the system has failed. Again, I believe that's what drove this. So if you would like to have a new restriction put in place, I think everything is somewhat in place to do that, except for that little limbo time where no restriction will be in place. But I would really like to get the input from Paul Ferland's office, as he was the one who had requested this in the first place. And I know Tess has reached out to him multiple times today to try and get that, but this all has transpired within the last few days, trying to get this all resolved, as I do know the owner has a closing scheduled soon. That's all I have to offer, but I can answer any questions that you have.
So the deed restriction is there on the old owner,
Correct.
and when they transfer the property, there'll be no deed restriction.
Well, what happens is the restriction is to the property now.
Okay,
So there can be no conveyance until that restriction is removed.
okay,
So one, we have to file a release of the restriction. This is legally, but the attorneys have to do in order to the conveyance to happen. Then they've submitted a new draft restriction, exact same, but with the current owners, putting the restriction back in place as it was put in place in 2021. So as long as you are trusting to the new landowners to accept this and put this on file, then there would be no issues. But theoretically, once the property changes hands, other than issuing a cease and desist on the use of the home, I don't think you would have any legal rights to require them to put the new restriction in order.
Mhm.
But you seem to be saying, Mr. Aguirre, that you didn't see a need for it. Is that what I heard you saying?
Board of Health wise, I see no need for it, and this is the Board of Health. So the way that the restriction was
That's
written,
what you want Ferland to weigh in on. Is what I guess.
exactly, because there is an ordinance that says you need to tie into municipal sewer if it's somewhat available, and that's up to his determination, if a septic system is failed. At this time, at the last time, the homeowner came to you and to Paul and said, let me put in a system. It's far less expensive than me having to tie into sewer. And everyone allowed that to happen through the placing of this deed restriction. So although the restriction does not mention the Department of Community Utilities, it only says by the health department. I do think the initial idea was, because of Paul Ferland.
Yeah.
And I know we did speak about this maybe a week or two ago, and he was on board with it. However, I did forward to him the same documents that I sent to Tess, asking for his review and comment.
Yeah. He was on board with updating the deed restriction, or on board with
Yes.
not requiring one?
Updating it.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we have to word this correctly?
I don't know.
That's the question.
I thought long and hard about it. I mean, we just got this from Attorney Brum yesterday. Now, Brandon, is it correct that when is the closing scheduled for?
We're supposed to close July 3rd.
July when?
July 3rd, the day before 4th of July.
Okay.
We won't meet again before
So,
then.
I mean, we have some time to potentially have something reworded with Attorney Brum, because I did ask him to send it in draft form, not to just record it, that we wanted to read the language. So if there is something that needs to be added or some type of level of protection that we can have written in, well, I guess there's one way that we can do this, is we can require Attorney Brum to include in the deed the restriction to be recorded herewith. So it could be a simultaneous recording, but that still can't take place until the previous one is released. So there still will be some, limbo time period, but it could be that the property cannot be conveyed without the new restriction being put in place and referenced in the deed. I think that's probably about as good as you're going to get. And I know we have Brandon's commitment, but Brandon's not buying the property. Brandon is selling it. So I don't know. I'm assuming, because I don't know the realtors that are involved. I'm assuming that the new buyers are aware of this and that this isn't going to be an issue. So you could theoretically ask for a signed affidavit from the two new owners, acknowledging that this is a requirement prior to occupancy, something like that, just to give yourself some level of protection.
If I could jump in here, please. I'm representing Brandon in the sale of his home. This is Chris Mungen, the broker for 3687 North Main. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of this. We did inform the buyers of this. Their attorney is Michael Fryer of New Bedford, and we spoke yesterday about this. And they're aware of the whole process that's taking place right now, but he said he wouldn't let his clients purchase unless there was a release done on the property. Even though the deed would be re-recorded, that deed restriction, they're aware of that. But he said in order for them to purchase, that this deed restriction had to be released.
The new one or the old one?
The old one.
No, that we understand that it can't be purchased without the old one being released.
Right.
What we need to do is be ensured that the new one is going to be put in place. So I would request that you have Attorney Fryer submit a letter acknowledging the fact that there will be a release of the existing restriction within the understanding that his clients understand that a new restriction is to be referenced in the deed and to be recorded with the deed, and that they acknowledge the fact of what this restriction requires.
Okay.
I think that's the only way that the Board of Health can protect themselves. Again, if they're that concerned about there being this restriction in place. So we're kind of stuck with that.
Okay. Now, do you think this can be released in time for that closing of July 3rd?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, well, depends how quickly Attorney Fryer can get us back the letter and signed affidavit from his clients acknowledging the fact that this restriction is required prior to the occupancy of the home.
Okay. I think we can get that back to you very quickly.
All right. Let's try and work on that. So I would offer, and again, not to speak for the board, but I think if you approved it conditional upon these items being taken care of, then there would be no need to have to come back to you. So one, that you're okay with the release of the existing. Two, there is to be a new restriction put in place that mimics the old. And three, that prior to the release of the existing, that an affidavit is received by the buyer's attorney on their behalf, acknowledging the fact that this restriction is to be put in place prior to occupancy.
Okay.
I could live with that.
Yeah.
It's a provisional. It's a provisional
Yes.
approval.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could form a intelligent motion to that effect, but I will move that the board proceed with those three steps to release the old deed, approve the updated deed, and require the letter from the attorney for the buyer that they will move forward to establish what would be the best wording, Mr. Aguirre?
Just that they will sign an affidavit acknowledging the need and requirement for the new deed restriction.
That.
Perfect.
I would second that. And Sandy, get the language right when you do the minutes. That's all.
Run it by me before you do it.
She can call you, right, Mr. Aguirre?
Absolutely, yeah. And
okay.
Chris, if you need Attorney Fryer to call me tomorrow or email, by all means, have him do that so we can make sure we get this correct.
That'd be great, Dan. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Tess, we need a roll call on that.
Thomas Corey,
Yes.
Michael Coughlin.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Aguirre, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the director's report.
Yes, thank you. So I don't have too much to report other than our RFP for the opioid settlement funds will close on Sunday at 11:59. So anyone who's interested in submitting an application has the next few days to submit those. Those are again due via email by Sunday at 11:59. So we're looking forward to seeing what types of applicants come through that process. The advisory committee will be reviewing those in the near term, and then funding will be in the fall of 2024. So more to come on that. But we're again excited about that opportunity. We, like I had mentioned last month, are moving forward with some additional positions in the department. There had been a reorg recently, so and members of the inspectional service, or what is now under the inspectional services division. So Faust, Josh, and Aline will be moving under the health department. So they will technically be HHS team members. That was a reorg that happened. Council approved it earlier in the month. And so those team members will now be absorbed into Health and Human Services, and I'll be supervising those team members. So we're looking forward to having them on board within the health department. You know, not too much will change in terms of their day to day, just a different person to report to, but it will be helpful as we kind of move forward and try and get a new inspector that's part of the shared services grant. And we just have more cohesion there. So that's taking effect as of July 1. So next week they'll officially be within the department.
That's amazing. Does that mean that all of the traditional public health inspectional services are now back in the health department? Is that?
Yeah. So
amazing.
minimum housing, sanitation, will all be under one umbrella.
Food too?
Yes, food moved last year.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
Yep, food moved. There had been another reorg last year, so food had come down to my supervision last July 1, and now we'll have minimum housing sanitation under. So, yeah, I think it ultimately will be beneficial, and we have a lot of overlap and work closely together and we'll continue to work closely with the building department as needed. So that's taking place. And really, that's it for all that I have at this point in time.
Okay, very good. Was there anything under citizens' input?
We did not receive citizens' input.
Next time would be to confirm the date for the next meeting. Following our usual schedule, it would be July 30th. That sound good?
It's fine.
That sounds good. Is there any other business to come before the board of such a nature that it couldn't make the agenda?
No new business.
All right. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second? Can we have a roll call?
Thomas Corey?
Yes.
Michael Coughlin?
Yes.
Okay. Listen, everyone have a delightful rest of the day and a nice 4th of July next week. Stay cool. Use your sunscreen.
That's right.